ZABoxingNation, where boxing lives, breathes, and breaks down. Today is August 27th, 2025, and we've got a stacked news roundup for you today. From Canelo Alvarez sharpening his game with Jaron Boots Ennis and the Ellis brothers ahead of his fight with Terence Crawford, to the shocking betting lines between Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. Plus, heavyweight rumblings with David Adeleye calling out Daniel Dubois, and a confirmed IBF Eliminator fight between F.A. Ajagba and Frank Sanchez. And then to top it all off, those upcoming fights that you need to be prepared for, plus your favorite segment on this day in boxing history. Let's break this all down. Canelo Alvarez is just 3 weeks away from one of the biggest fights of his career. This fight with Terence Crawford on September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And now news broke that Canelo Alvarez is brought in Jaron Boots Ennis for sparring. Jaron Boots Ennis is getting ready for Uisma Lima and for his debut at 154 pounds. This is a fascinating move. Jaron Boots Ennis, one of the most talented welterweights, or were one of the most talented welterweights, is known for his slick footwork, switch hitting ability, explosive counter punching, traits that eerily similar to Terence Crawford. For Canelo Alvarez, who thrives against aggression, flat-footed fighters, training with Jaron Boots Ennis allows him to adjust to speed, reflexes, and unpredictability. It shows Canelo Alvarez isn't taking Terence Crawford lightly. He's preparing for the best version of Bud. And let's not forget the stakes. All 4 super middleweight belts are on the line for 168-pound supremacy. If Terence Crawford wins, he becomes undisputed in the 3rd weight class, something no man in boxing history has ever achieved. But if Canelo Alvarez wins, he reaffirms himself as the face of boxing, the gatekeeper to greatness. The chess match here is unbelievable. Can Terence Crawford carry his power and slickness up to 168 pounds? Or will Canelo Alvarez's strength, size, and championship pedigree prove too much for Terence Crawford? Sparring boots is Canelo's way of leaving no stone unturned for this fight. I hope you guys can see that. Now shifting gears, November 14th is set for one of the strangest yet most talked about fights in modern history. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. Gervonta Davis fights at 135 pounds and Jake Paul fights at 175 pounds. Now, this fight is going to be at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. The betting odds are out, and Gervonta Tank Davis is the massive favorite, negative 400. While Jake Paul sits at plus 250. Translations: odds makers expect Gervonta Tank Davis to walk right through 175-pound Jake Paul. And why wouldn't they? Gervonta Tank Davis is one of the most polished lightweights in the division today. One of the most destructive punchers of this generation. His timing, his ability to close the distance, and his fight IQ are all elite. Meanwhile, Jake Paul, love him or hate him, has built himself into a legitimate draw. He's beaten names like Nate Diaz. He's been in the ring with Tommy Fury, but none of them can even come close to Tank's caliber fighter. The real intrigue here isn't whether Jake Paul wins, it's whether he survives. Can he box disciplined enough to avoid Gervonta Tank Davis' power shots? Can he use his size advantage to make it awkward? And let's not forget, this isn't just a cash grab. It's on Netflix, meaning the mainstream attention will be huge. If Jake Paul even goes the distance with Gervonta Tank Davis, his credibility skyrockets. But if Tank wipes the floor with him early, it might be a final nail in the coffin of the YouTube sensation turned boxer. And now, in the heavyweight divisions, David Adeleye is making noise again. This time, he's calling for a fight with Daniel Dubois. This one is personal. Both men have sparred together in the past, and David Adeleye believes that he's got David Dubois he's got Daniel Dubois figured out. Daniel Dubois, the more established name, has fought at the world level, most notably against Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua, and now Adeleye. Adeleye, on the other hand, is starving to carve his path, but has momentum on his side. What makes this fight so intriguing is the clash of mentalities. Daniel Dubois has been criticized in the past for quitting when things got tough, while David Adeleye is positioning himself as the hungrier, tougher challenger. A fight between the two could very well decide which British heavyweight stays relevant and which one fades into the background. Officially, Samson Boxing secured the rights with a bid of $302,000, and now we're officially on the road to match up. Stylistically, this is a classic fight. Efe Ajagba is a power puncher with a thunderous right hand, while Frank Sanchez is a slick Cuban counterpuncher who frustrates his opponents with his movement. The winner will be positioned for a future title shot, and given how wide open the heavyweight landscape is at the moment, this fight could be career defining. Now, not at all good news. The highly anticipated crossover between Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder versus Francis Ngannou has officially been shelved for 2025. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder's camp confirmed that there will be no fight this year, ending that speculation. This was supposed to be a spectacle, two of the hardest hitters in combat sports colliding. But conflicting schedules and business disagreements shut that all the way down. For Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, the question remains, what's next? At 39 years old, his window is closing rapidly. And Francis Ngannou, the focus may shift to MMA. Either way, fans will have to wait. Let me know how you guys feel about that in the comments below. Now for the upcoming fights that you need to be prepared for. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford, September 13th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada for undisputed at super middleweight.
No, like this.
Then we have Naoya Inoue versus Adeleye, September 14th in Japan, undisputed at super bantamweight. Then we have Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, November 14th in Atlanta at the State Farm Arena. Netflix blockbuster. Efe Ajagba versus Frank Sanchez for the IBF Eliminator. That date is still to be determined. Then we have David Adeleye versus Daniel Dubois. While this fight is not official, it's still heating up fast. And now for your favorite segment on this day in boxing history. August 27th, 1944, one of the boxing's greatest heavyweights was born. Smokin Joe Frazier. Frazier wasn't just a champion, he was the embodiment of grit, determination, and relentless pressure. His left hook is still regarded as one of the most devastating weapons in boxing history. From its Olympic gold medal in 1964 to becoming the first man to defeat Muhammad Ali in the legendary fight of the century in 1971, Joe Frazier's legacy is etched in stone. His trilogy with Muhammad Ali remains as one of the most iconic rivalries this sport has ever seen. And his fighting spirit continues to inspire generations. So today, on Smokin Joe Frazier's birthday, we celebrate the life of a man who defined heavyweight's greatness and carried the sport on his shoulders during one of its most golden eras. Let me know how you guys feel about all of that in the comments below. Like these remind us today, stars like Saul Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, Naoya the Monster Inoue, and Gervonta Tank Davis are all chasing legacies that fighters like just like Smokin Joe Frazier built. And that wraps up your boxing news for August 27, 2025. Drop your thoughts and comments below. Who are you backing? Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford? Can Jake Paul shock the world against Gervonta Tank Davis? Or is this fight already over before it begins? Let me know how you guys feel about all of that in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss out on an update. And if you're new here, Keep your hands up, and I'll catch you in the next one.